Today, we are talking about grace will be there. Wherever you find yourself, wherever you are, we trust that. And we know of no better person to talk about this topic. I mean, truly, there is not a better person. She is one of our favorite people on planet Earth, Katie Blackburn. She is so incredible on so many levels, and you're going to hear why today in her words. But she is a part of the sisterhood. She is a mom of six. She's a single mom of six currently, but that's about to change, and we'll get into that. She is a writer, one of the best writers I know. Wouldn't you say, Alex?
Oh, for sure. Like living writers that I know personally. Oh yeah, top 5.
Oh my gosh.
Yes.
That is the nicest. Oh my gosh.
I mean, she is so gifted. Now, she does teach writing at Whitworth University, and so they're so blessed to have her teaching. She also writes for Coffee and Crumbs. She is also the co-host of the Coffee and Crumbs podcast, along with just all the many other hats that she wears in life. But Katie, it is truly one of our greatest joys to have you on the podcast today.
Oh my gosh, one of your greatest joys. This is one of mine. Krista, Alex, you have been for a decade staples in my life of inspiration, of models of motherhood. They'll make me cry before we get going, but I just am obsessed with the two of you and have long been. So to get to be talking to you, it's like 2-5. I just feel like, hey, we're all having coffee. Yeah, y'all want to listen in. This is
That's what it is. And we're celebrating. We're celebrating a few things today. We are celebrating a book that's coming out this summer. We are airing this a little bit before the book comes out. So we want everyone, after they listen to this episode, to go pre-order it. So I'm going to be promoting it for the next 40 minutes as we talk. I'll just keep reminding people to go pre-order it.
Can I just say, because there's some people on the New York Times bestseller list that shouldn't be there, Katie should be there.
Yes, that's right.
And if you pre-order the book, we're going to help get her there. So
that's right. You two are the ultimate hype girls. Thank you for that. Oh my gosh.
Well, Katie, let's just jump in. Because there's a lot to say today. And your journey has been incredible. And I've got a couple even passages from your book that I want to read. But let's just start at the beginning. You have been writing for a long time. You signed a book contract, and then something really significant happened in that moment. Can you talk about that?
Yeah, as you mentioned, I've been writing publicly for 16 years. I was definitely part of the blogging days of yore, when we all had a blog, and so it was so fun, and there was no algorithm and there was no social media, and it was just so easy to just write about your life. And I had really long desire to write a book. I first put a proposal out in 2018, rejected, 2019, rejected, 2020, rejected, took a little break, had a few more children, and then went through a lot in my own life and in my marriage when I realized that addiction was part of my story and part of my marriage. And that was a long couple of years and a couple of stints of rehabilitation for my ex-husband and a lot of seasons of solo parenting and everything that comes with it. And in end of July of 2023, the contract to write the book that I had been shaping and reshaping and dreaming about. It's a collection of essays, so it's a little bit non-traditional for Christian nonfiction. One of my writing heroes is Anne Lamott, and I also love Shauna Niequist. And I kind of always told people, like, I want to write the book where if Anne Lamott and Shauna Niequist and Jen Wilkin had a literary baby, that's what I'm going for here. So that it finally found the right editor and it found the right publisher, and they took a chance on it, and that all came together end of July, early August 2023. And then 4 weeks later, I found out about some more, unfortunately, hidden secrets in my marriage. And at that point, it just became clear that prayers that I had been praying for mercy for my marriage and for my children for the last 5 years, that the mercy was going to be removing us from a situation So it was a different sort of an answered prayer, but it was still an answered prayer. Sometimes the chaos that comes with addiction becomes untenable and unsafe. And so the Lord really plucked us out of that. But starting over almost leveled me. It did at times. Being a single mom to 6 kids, starting over financially, being a sole provider, just everything you have planned and set in stone, not set in stone, but like set in motion for your life when you're almost 40 years old. It feels like if I just stay on this trajectory, we'll be good. And all of a sudden there's no trajectory. There's none. You're not married anymore. Your retirement savings is I mean, you have to start over in every way. I mean, you guys, I had to move in with my parents at 39 years old. That's not on your bingo card, but for anybody. So really, it was a total deconstruction of my life, and then spending a lot of time figuring out, well, we just took all this apart. What pieces are still good going forward? What about me? What about the person I am? What about what I know about healing? What I know about recovery, all that. But most importantly, what do I know about God? What have I always known about God that's still true? That doesn't change even when your life is in pieces. And that's that He's gracious, that grace is going to be there. And that was the title of my book before I had to live it. Dang it. Like, come on, Lord, why do we have to live these messages that we want to write about? Like, I thought I had lived it. I have been raising a child with severe disability. I had been dealing with addiction. We have a sweet little girl that we adopted through foster care. And that was a challenging process. And adoption is challenging. Like, I really thought I had lived. I thought I had enough to say. And God's like, oh, just hold tight to me, girl. I'll be there no matter what, but there's more. So I live with a lot more humility even now than I think I did 3 years ago. But somehow, because grace is there, somehow this book still got finished. In the midst of all of that, it still got finished with an extension from the publisher and all of that. But it got finished. And I mean every word 100 times more than I did before. So, yeah.
How did that feel to sit down and start writing or keep writing in the middle of all of that?
You know, at first, I'm a former college athlete, as I know the two of you are athletes and you're raising athletes. Like sports metaphors and sports images, they just work for us in a lot of ways. And so I very much was calling deep on that. Like, you don't get to quit. You can like take a little break, rest a little, but you do not get to quit on your commitments or on your life. And so I emailed my sweet acquisitions editor and said, just give me a couple weeks. I'll be fine. Ha ha ha. And I tried to keep writing. I did. But what I found is that I was still so sad and so angry that everything I was writing was sounding sad and angry. That is not honestly who I am at baseline. I'm a very optimistic person, kind of pride myself on just this ability to find joy no matter what. I think it's important. It's how I want to live, but that's not what was coming out on the page. So I did keep writing, but I tell my acquisitions editor, I think, could I have a year to live this more first? And so I found a year later, I was telling the same stories. They didn't change. Some of the things I wanted to talk about, there's some new things in there based on the circumstances in my life. But that's the thing about being a writer. You can tell a story very differently depending on where your healing is at.
Yeah.
And where you are, how much distance you have from the story. So I'm not saying don't write from the pain. Maybe don't publish from the pain.
Right.
Like, right.
Yes.
Write it down, go slow. I mean, there's places for that. I have a Substack when I was being very raw in those places, but something that's going to be pretty evergreen and printed. I'm so thankful that I could actually live and heal first, because I can look back at a lot of that first year after something traumatic happens, like a divorce.
Yeah.
You're numb, you're sad, you truly are traumatized. You don't know which way is up and down, but you don't necessarily feel that in the day to day. Like, you might feel like, no, I'm doing pretty well today. But it's because the lens that you're looking through is so small, because you're just trying to survive. So you can see what you can do to survive, and that makes you feel like you're doing good. That's a grace. from the Lord to kind of shrink our view when we're in trauma. Just do what you have to survive. For me, that was a temptation to be like, oh, but then everything's fine. And it's not. Our hearts just go at a slower pace. And we have to honor that pace. We really do. Nobody wants to fight that more than me, by the way. I was like divorced for 3 weeks and I'm like, I'm going to run a marathon. I'm going to sign up for the Ironman. I'm going to finish this book. I'm going to do this. I was like, I thrive on to-do lists and that dopamine rush. And that's how I was going to heal. And that is not how healing works. It takes the time that it takes. No matter what, you cannot rush it. You cannot rush it. You keep living. You keep living. And God will do what only God can do and what only time can do. But no to-do list is going to accomplish that. So I had to learn that, though. I did.
And I was very inspired by your Peloton rides. I will say that.
Oh, thank you. Listen, Peloton has been a very good counselor to me this
Yes.
couple of years.
Yes. I mean, I remember when you would just get on that bike and that was what you could do. And it gave your emotion a place to go.
Yeah.
And that felt really significant in that moment. Like it felt like a victory and a win.
It absolutely did. And I know this is not what the episode is about, but there is something very, I mean, our bodies and our brains and our hearts are connected. I know you guys have talked about this on the podcast before too. We're not actually disconnected people or embodied people, and it's all connected. And God's design is good. It's really, really good. And so we have this I think it's a miraculous ability to metabolize our pain when we move our body. Because if you don't metabolize it, it comes out sideways and it comes out on the people you love and on your kids and on your friends and on your community. And it causes you, it eats you up. You actually have to do something with that. You really do. And it doesn't have to be the Peloton. We have to honor what that pain needs. And that pain needs to be metabolized somehow, some way, moving, talking to somebody, picking up the phone, asking someone to bring you a coffee or go to coffee. Like all of that is the action that metabolizes that pain for that day. But then you got to do it again the next day and the next day and the next day. And finally, I don't know, maybe 1,000 Peloton rides in, I was like, I really do feel better. I really do feel better.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
Well, in your Substack, I will say that your honest writing, I mean, I've told you a million times, but some of your best writing came out of that season.
Yeah.
And there's one essay you wrote called Burn the Ships that is exquisite. I'm going to link it in our show notes, but it's exquisite. And I think for anyone who's gone through any suffering or hardship, even though your story's unique, but I think anyone who's been there finds such resonance when we read your words. And I do want to read some of your words that I think are so powerful. And this is from the introduction in your book. Grace is not just a word for a coffee mug or a flowery cliche you grab onto in the hardest moments. It's not a branch extending from a tree that you reach for as your life falls off a cliff. Because believing in grace and its presence in your life does not at all mean you won't fall. Grace is crashing hard into the ground at the bottom of the cliff, broken, scarred, and tear-stained. But when you come to your senses and realize where you are and just how much more challenging life is where you've fallen to, you find that Jesus is there on the ground with his arms wrapped around your shaking body, holding on to you when you stopped holding anything together at all. Grace is the answered prayers and the victories and the moments you celebrate. But sometimes, maybe a lot of the time, grace is the miracle of you simply crawling, inching, limping your way forward in faith, that you are moving towards the author of all of life, closer to his presence in the eternal weight of glory, beyond all comparison that only a life found in Jesus can offer.
Krista, first of all, can you read my audiobook for me? Because that was the best reading of that I've ever heard. Truly.
But just Talk to us about that
Yeah.
passage.
Yeah. I think, so much when I started to write this book about grace, it was still very much from the girl who I had been beat up a little bit in life, but I still think I had held on to this idea that if I just keep following all the rules, if I'm just still a good girl, like, then that means God will reward me and life will be okay. Like, it'll be easier. That my ex-husband's addictions will go away, that we will have the redemption story, that people put us on stage at churches and talk about, look what God did in their marriage because this is a good girl and a good prayer and all of that. I cannot state this strongly enough. Divorce was not an option until it was the only option. I never thought that would be part of my story. And so here I am, like, writing about grace and having spent the last year writing this book proposal about grace and framing these stories about grace being there, meaning by that you're not going to be ready for everything in your life. Grace will be there when you get there, though. And now the thing I feared the most in the world is a reality for me. I really learned quickly that grace is real. It's the hope of my whole life. It actually does not save you from your worst fears, though. It just promises to be there if those happen. He is. I would have said that before, that God is there no matter what, and that the presence of the Holy Spirit and the comfort of Jesus is there no matter what. It would have been a platitude. 2 years ago, it would have been a platitude. And today, I don't even care if you don't read the book. Just believe that, please. Just believe that everything in your life really is preparing you for the rest of your life, because God wastes nothing. His grace is woven through every one of our stories. Probably the ones we didn't want more, honestly, because we can't take credit for surviving them. We couldn't have. We could not have survived them without him. When things are easy, we can, like, kind of even subconsciously think it's because we're awesome. That gets thrown out the window real fast when your marriage is over and when your kids are falling apart. And I mean, Krista mentioned earlier, I have 6 children. At the time that my marriage ended, it was 6 children under the age of 11, toddlers, potty training, a little boy with autism whose self-injurious behavior just skyrocketed when his dad was gone. So I had to learn how to patch holes in sheetrock as I'm grieving. And so when I say that it was a chaos, it was chaos. I did not want to get out of bed most days because I knew what was waiting for me. And how do you survive it? Because some miraculous way, God tells you, you can do it. Just put your feet on the ground. You can do it. Just get on the Peloton. You can do it. Just take a shower. You can do it. Just patch that wall. You can do it. Just make that mac and cheese. Just today. Just today. And then he sends people and community, which is another minor character in my story. And in all of the essays you will read is people. That is God's grace to us too, is people. The grace is not this gentle, precious little thing. We say grace for people. It is that, but it's also like grace is the grittiest, most sure-handed. It's an iron fist of the Lord holding on to you. That's not how we often think about grace, but it is like, oh no, this is God, like his unshakable grip on us is grace.
Yeah, I've been thinking about your kids as you've been talking, because we often have that image of a crisis, say, of a woman with a marriage ending, and it's as if we live in a vacuum. Like God met me, but you were not alone. You had all these people that needed you, who were also grieving, who were also going through their own chaos. And how did you see grace through the eyes of your children?
Yeah. Well, this is a really great question. There's 2 things I had going for me. One is just, can we just talk about how amazing, really resilient kids are? They are. They're so beautifully charitable. It's absolutely amazing. And I have a firstborn daughter who is how do I describe my firstborn?
Special, set apart, exceptional,
Yeah.
witty, so bright.
Yeah, thank you, Krista. That is very kind. She's probably going to run for president someday because she's incredible. And her spirit was an absolute godsend because she stepped in as the second parent at 11 years old. Not what I would have wished for her. And I do know I'm already saving for her counseling because that will be something she's going to have to work through as she gets older. I don't have my head in the sand about that. In fact, for all of my kids, as they get older and realize like, oh, that's what addiction really means. Like, that's what it looks like. We haven't come to that yet. We honor their dad in every conversation in our home because the collateral damage is not worth them carrying any pain from me. They get to just have him as their dad. And so, yeah, the kids, though, I had that going for me, their resilience. And the second thing I had going for me was the amount of people that swooped in and helped our family. We never felt unsafe. We never felt alone on an island. I did at times taking care of kids when I was home alone in my house. And, there was one night I went to bed and it was like December, it was freezing cold. There's snow on the ground. And I was falling asleep and I was like, oh my gosh, I forgot to put the garbage and the recycling out. And it just broke me because I can't do it all. I cannot do this all. And there's nobody here to help me just put the garbage on the sidewalk. And I just got so upset. So there were definitely moments for me that were very lonely. Things like that tend to just be the straw that breaks the camel's back when you're hurting. But I realized too, when I went through my divorce, I had to take a court-ordered class on co-parenting and sharing the children. And they have you all take an ACEs, which is an adverse childhood experiences test for your kids, which is very devastating. Oh man, when you're scoring things for your kids, which is just reality, you can't have your head in the sand when hard things happen. This is a traumatic event. A divorce is a traumatic event. Having a parent that's addicted is a traumatic event. So that's real. But then the person, this local counselor who was teaching the course, he also introduced us to something called the childhood resilience scale. So you take this and you're like, oh my gosh, look at this is not the story I wanted for my kids. They have these ACEs now in their life. This is that we're this Christian family. And now I'm this is not how it's supposed to happen. And you take this resilience scale for your kids too. And it's every single question on there has to do with the people in their lives. Every single question. Do I know my mom or dad loves me? Do I have one other person besides my mom or dad who can love me, who I think love me? Do I have somebody in my life who can take me to do something fun? It's 20 questions of community for your kids. And every single one of them was a resounding yes for my kids. And so, yes, I'm very much a researcher and I want to know the data and the science and how do I learn all that I can about all that we're going through to help my kids. And you guys, the science says when your kids are surrounded by people who love them, they are more likely to have resilience for the rest of their lives. My kids had my parents, and my dad especially is just such a safe person. And so we never experienced housing insecurity like a lot of people do. I know that's very real for single moms because my parents saved our lives. And said, come live with us. And so it's the people. It is the people. One of the essays in the book I wrote about this very thing, and it's called Holding Hands. And I use this image. I think I've heard Krista talk about this before, of the redwood forest in California, which I went with my mom for her 70th birthday with my two daughters. And redwood trees are the tallest in the world, but they have the shortest root system. They're these more than 100-foot tall trees. But their roots are 6 to 8 feet deep. Don't quote me on that. It might be 10 feet deep. Point is, they're not deep at all. And so how do redwoods on the coast of California survive the winds and the rain and the Pacific Ocean wind pounding on them for thousands of years? It's because their root system literally grabs hands with the roots next to it. There's a whole other ecosystem under the ground of these roots grabbing onto each other. Is that not the most amazing picture in the world? That's how they're standing. Not because they're standing solo and they're just really, really deep.
Mm-hmm.
It's because they're intertwined with other people.
Yes.
That's it. That's the resilience. And my kids felt that, and I felt that. You can stand through a storm. The storm will come.
Mm-hmm.
It will. But isolation is when you fall. When you're connected, you wake up and you're still standing.
Well, and there's two things that I want to draw out in this because they both have been so inspiring to me as I've been walking with you in this journey. And the first one is your parents.
Yeah.
I'll never forget when you told me what they were doing for you. Can you just tell a little bit of that story?
Oh, yeah, I'm happy to. My parents had moved up to Washington State after they retired, bought their dream home, this cute little old cottage basically on the lake, and we're going to retire there. And when I went through all of this, I had been alone with the kids for about 3 months, and my dad could see that I was drowning before I could, really. And he called me one day and said, Mom and I have been talking, and we really think that we should sell this house, and you should sell your house, and we'll get one together that can fit all of us, because we don't want you to just limp your way through life like this. And I just started crying. This was probably 2 days after the garbage incident, And I knew he was right. I knew he was right. And so they did. They sold their cute little dream home. And I sold my house, which was going to need to happen anyways. I just didn't have the earning power to have 6 kids and be able to still make that mortgage payment with my jobs. And so that was inevitable at some point anyway. Yeah, we both sold our homes and found one with 6 bedrooms that we're all currently living in. I will say that honestly though, this like intergenerational living gets a bad rap. It's kind of awesome.
Yeah.
There's moments, of course, where like the kids are so loud and the grandparents are like, oh my gosh, they're so loud. For sure. And there's moments where it's like, I still feel like I'm getting in trouble for leaving my shoes on the ground like a teenager, from my mom. 95% of the time, it is awesome.
Yeah.
If you find yourself in this situation, like, no shame. No shame. It's okay. I think that a lot of other countries that do intergenerational living, they have something that we do not. And it's nice on the resources because we split things. It's good for the kids to be around the grandparents. And my parents do love it. They will look forward to quiet at some point in their life. I know that, but it's been okay. It's been okay. If I can just get over the prideful part when I was like, where do you live, Katie? In my parents' basement.
It's just such a powerful story of pivot to me. Pivot for the people you love, and pivot hard and fast. And they did. And they sacrificed a dream for alignment with their deeper values. And that to me, it's just so beautiful.
Yeah.
But then you also have this other group, and they're not even proximity wise close to you, but they have been the redwoods for you. Can you talk about that?
Yeah. My Voxer group. Yeah. We talk every day. We have our little Voxer group. It started as a writing group because we were all trying to write book proposals about the same time, and mostly all getting rejected about the same time. And so we had each other for that camaraderie. But in the years leading up to my divorce, we had really formed a bond that was just true family, non-romantic soulmates. That's what I call them. They are my non-romantic soulmates. And they have been there for every step. I mean, my best friend, Ashley, dropping what she's doing to fly up here on 2 or 3 occasions to help. They've helped collect an offering for me from the Coffee and Crumbs community early on, which was an absolute lifeline, because when you get divorced and addiction's involved, it's all gone pretty quickly. And I was saved by the generosity of others in those early months. And that was because of my friends. They were my redwoods. They were like, they can't, I said, I think it's from the Lord of the Rings, where it's like, I can't carry the ring for you, but I can carry you. Like, I can't live this pain. I can't take it, but I'm not going to go anywhere.
Mm-hmm.
And to my toes, I believe you can make it through anything when you believe you're not alone, when you know you're not alone. It's the loneliness that just paralyzes your ability to make it through the hard things. And we're all going to go through it, every single one. It's not going to be divorce in every case, but there's going to be loss in life. There's going to be grief. There's going to be pivots. It's the people, it's being in community and the friends that are going to help you stand through it.
Yeah. So true. So true. Because I'm thinking of so many families I know through my work that don't have that. And what the opposite result is complete disintegration of what they know. And it's that social structure that is so important. And thinking about like your Coffee and Crumbs group, I was also thinking about a friend of mine whose son died maybe 10 years ago. And the way that our neighborhood really rallied around her and her family.
Yeah.
And she didn't go into friendships thinking, I'm going to do this as a backstop for when my son gets sick and dies.
Right.
Like you didn't go into that Voxer group with the idea of my life's going to fall apart. So I'm going to create some scaffolding around myself so that I will have something to hold me up. It's just this desire for community. And so I think for those of us who aren't in crisis right now, to remember that friendship is going to perhaps serve us in a way we do not expect. Because again, we're not planning for the crisis.
Right.
We're planning for things to be fine. And even if things are kind of hard, like you said, we're planning to be the people on the stage that are going to give God the glory because everything's going to work out. Or going to work out the way we want it to. And so just the importance of relationships, recognizing that friendship especially is possibly going to mean a lot more to us a year from now, 5 years from now, 10 years from now.
I cannot co-sign that enough, Alex. Yes. Every season of our life needs community. And you do. It's like I said, you don't invest in people so that in case you need them one day, they're there. You invest in people for the richness that they bring to your life every day and that you bring to their life every day. That's part of God's design, is that we have each other. But it's also like they become this safety net instantly. The second you need them. This like a little transformer that's just like, oh, crisis, we're already here. I caught you.
Well, and that is God's grace. I mean, we're talking today about God's grace. It will be there. And a huge part of that is us letting it be there, like letting the hands and feet of Jesus in the people around us be that for us. That takes an intentional decision as well. And I think about, Katie, your Sunday cleaning crew. Can you talk about that and how you had to come to that, allowing people to do that?
Yeah. Oh, the Sunday cleaning crew. That's one of my favorite things to talk about because my friend Kelly, who loves a meal train more than the Christian church girls? Like we, we love our meal trains. Yep. And I'm so great. I've had 6 children. And even when my ex-husband went to rehab for 4 months for the first time, I mean, I've been the recipient of a good many meal trains and I was so thankful for it. But this time around, when my friend said, do you want me to set up a meal train? It's like, I knew I needed food and I knew I needed help, but a meal train in my circle of friends also means a lot of people coming to your door. And it means a lot of cheese on the casseroles. And I felt like I wasn't in a place where I could answer the door. And I know you can say like, well, just leave the meal outside. But I've done enough to know like people will still text and be like, can I just give you a quick hug? Or my dog will see somebody at the door and bark. And then all of a sudden all the kids are running to see who it is. And it's like that drop off did not go.
Step back, kids. Step back from the window.
Exactly. That's exactly it. And so I just knew like I wasn't up for that. And so with my friend Ashley helped me figure out like what would be most helpful. And we talked about it because I felt guilty. Like, ow, how do I reject the meal train? I feel like a snob. And she was like, no, Katie, I think you get to say what would be most helpful. Then that's okay. And so her permission to do that. And so I just texted my friend Kelly back and I said, instead of a meal train, could we do a cleaning train? And maybe just on Sunday nights after I get the kids to bed, just have someone come over and keep me company and clean my house for the rest of the week. And she was like, done deal. So she set that up for about 3 months. And Krista was on the Sunday cleaning team. And it was all people, maybe like 12 people that I was very comfortable seeing and would love to talk to. And it was great. I mean, Krista even brought her husband and her teenage boys and made them like do the heavy lifting. She's like, all those Christmas boxes, break them all down. See that couch? Lift it up and vacuum under it. I mean, they were like, and Krista and I were upstairs talking and the boys were downstairs cleaning. It was great.
It's the way it should be.
It was great.
Yeah.
I looked forward to Sunday night so much because I was going to get a little company and just the very practical need of like my house was going to get clean. And then you start the week with a little less chaos because everything's clean. That's what I needed. I'm so grateful for that. And I think I have honestly, probably since my son was diagnosed with autism back in 2017, I have learned to be okay asking for help because there's just times like, listen, I can't take him in. Can you take my daughter in? He's melting down. Can you take her into the birthday party? You're up against the wall with no choice but to ask for help. And that has gotten easier for me over the years. And so letting my friends come help me clean my house was just like, please come. I want you. I need you. This will be great. I loved it. I loved it. I kind of like miss Sunday nights. We should like start a club, Krista, where like everything's fine, but you just want to clean each other's houses together on Sunday. It's kind of fun.
Exactly. Well, Katie, as we close today, and everyone has to go get this book, and we're not just saying this, like you will love it on so many levels, the deep spiritual lessons, but also Katie's storytelling and the way she writes. It's just so compelling and so true and so real and authentic. But Katie, if looking at kind of the thread that you pull through the book as grace, it's not a branch to grab onto on the way down the cliff, but Jesus already on the ground holding you. I just think that image is so powerful that we read in the beginning. How would you speak to someone who feels like they are in that free fall or they are on the edge of maybe a cliff that they didn't expect? What would you say to them?
Well, first of all, I'd say one day at a time. The future will overwhelm you and might paralyze you if you think too much about it. One day at a time. My friend Emily, who's a sister and has been for a long time, once told me something, and I don't know exactly where she read it, so I don't know who to credit for this, but something along the idea of like, like God saying to us, like, you're afraid of the future because I'm not there yet. Like, just relax. And we know he's before time and after time. So obviously that metaphor theologically, or that idea theologically can fall apart a little bit. But my point is like, we have no idea what's coming the next day. So don't live in fear of that because God will be there with you when that next day comes. So try so hard to just do what's right in front of you to do and to do it well. One day at a time, 1 day at a time, strength for today. This is the first thing I would say. And the second thing is that you need to get really good at talking to yourself and not listening to yourself. Because when you're listening to yourself, all of those emotions that have been in fight or flight or are currently in fight or flight or are angry, they get really loud. They get really, really loud. And I just don't think that they're good captains. I think emotions are very good and they're God-given. But when we let them make the decisions for us, we end up sending the text messages we shouldn't have sent or avoiding the thing we should have avoided or making excuses. Again, this is something I'm like growing increasingly passionate about. Grief and trauma and free fall, all those things, they're so true. But let's not use our pain as an excuse to cause others pain, to act badly, to further the damage. Like I kept telling myself so often, like, okay, the enemy only gets one victory here. I'm not going to let him get any more. I'm just not. And obviously I didn't do that perfectly. We're not robots. We're going to feel. There's grace and there's mercy. God is a big God, and he can sympathize with our weakness, of course. But when you start talking to yourself more with truths like, God, you're here. Or I can do this hard thing. Or I'm just going to try. Simple things like that. It's amazing how they take on life when you do them over and over and over again. Okay, last thing, because it works, is I gotta get a quote from Robin Arzón, my favorite Peloton instructor.
Yes, you do.
Because, okay, she says this though. She's like, I'm not interested in what you do 1 or 2 times. Like anybody can show up 1 or 2 times. I am interested in what you are willing to do 10,000 times, because that is who you are. And even in the most difficult seasons of your life, that matters, you guys. That matters. What is the right thing, the hard thing I am willing to do 10,000 times, because that is who I am. That is who I am. So talk to yourself that way. Talk to yourself that way. That's what I would say. Because you guys, God is a healer. And here's the beautiful thing. He has made our bodies and our minds with the ability to contribute to our own healing. We get to take part in our healing. We are not just like living on the whims of everybody else's decisions. We get to take part in our own healing. But we have to remind our brains of that sometimes. And so that's what I would say. And I hope it's encouraging, because I mean it to be encouraging and empowering, because we have a good God, a big God, a big God. Yeah.
It's profound, Katie. Thank you. And we just have to end on this one note. Can you just give the good news?
I'm delighted to give the good news. I wish I had time for more of the story, but after a lot of like, I'm never doing this again, this marriage thing, I met somebody last summer who's amazing. His name is Benjamin, and Benjamin proposed to me 2 weeks ago, and we're getting married this summer. And I can't honestly believe those words are coming out of my mouth. And, I never expected that part of the story. And I was pretty determined to be okay and to thrive, even if that never was part of my story, and for my kids to thrive, even if that never was part of my story. But God knows better than we do. And I'm just so smitten and so grateful for this man who's been through a lot too, and is a teammate, and we're just going to chase after Jesus together. And we're excited for a new story, for sure.
Cheering for you always.
Yes.
Katie.
Thank you.
Always.
Thank you.
Okay.
I love you guys so much.